Does that look better? I got a new camera, so it better look better. Kim here, and I've been tagged. Steph tagged me to do the I Dare Ya book tag. This tag has rules. There are rules for this tag. You have to be honest, you have to answer all the questions, and you have to tag at least 4 people. I could probably do that. Thanks, Steph, for tagging me, and I'll leave a linky link to her video down there. I'll also leave a link to the original video if I can find it down there as well. Let's do this. Question 1. What book has been on your shelf the longest? Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. Levine. This I actually kind of sort of stole off my sister's bookshelf. She had it when we were in elementary school, so I just took it. Still has my sister's name written on it. Mine now. Kind of what I do. I think I was in high school when I actually read this, but it's been on my shelf since I was in elementary school, and it's just been carted with me ever since. I liked the book. The movie with Anne Hathaway, meh. But this book was actually a really delightful retelling of Cinderella that I thought was clever and nice and great. It's great middle grade from what I remember. Question 2. What was your last read? What is your current read? And what will you be reading next? Unfortunately, the last book I read I had to DNF, which does not happen often, and it's a major bummer, but it was the Aqueous Transmission. It just wasn't for me. I could just tell. I really gave it a good go, but I knew that it wasn't something that I was just gonna, it just wasn't for me. My current read is The Beat on Ruby Street by Jenna Zark. I did receive this book for review, and it's middle grade, and that's all I know. I just barely started it. So there's a girl named Ruby, and it's middle grade, and that's all I got, which is great. That's how I like it. I don't know what my next read is gonna be. I've got a couple of things that I want to be getting to, but I honestly am kind of trying to mood read a little bit in May. So well, I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be. It's gonna just be whatever I want it to be. Something probably middle grade. Question 3. What book did everyone like but you hated? The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson? Is that who wrote this? This book was so hyped, and everybody was just telling me that it was so gripping, and you can't put it down, and it's so riveting and exciting and just packed and great, and I didn't get it. It didn't happen for me. The story, it too long, and it kept going, and I just was like, I don't really care about any of you. For me, it was a no-go. I did appreciate that it shined some light on sexual violence against women, so I will give it props for that, because it did, like, talk about an important issue that is a problem, and so, you know, I mean, it's not a complete waste or anything like that. I just didn't understand why it was supposed to be so exciting. It just wasn't. Question 5. What book are you saving for retirement? Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy? It's not that I'm saving this book for retirement. I just know that given its density and length and Russianness, that I really am gonna have to commit to it, and I'm just not ready to commit. I honestly am not really like, when I'm retired, I'm gonna read Tolstoy. It's more of like, I'm just not in the place yet to read this, because it is a little daunting and intimidating. I'm waiting to get in the right mindset, and one day it will happen, hopefully before I'm in my 60s. Question 6. The last page. Read it first or wait till the end? The only person I know who reads the last page first is Harry in When Harry Met Sally, and I think it's because he's afraid he's gonna die before he finishes the book, or something like that. Do real people do that? Are there people that read the last page before they get to it chronologically? Like, is that a thing? If you do that, tell me in the comments and tell me why, because I'm really interested to know why you would need to do that. I really am genuinely wondering. Question 7. Acknowledgements. A waste of paper and ink, or an interesting aside? I do not think it's a waste of ink and paper. I think that it's always important to show gratitude and to be thankful. I usually only read the acknowledgements if it's an author I really love and I like the extra insight, or if I loved the book so much I don't want it to end, so I'll read completely through to the acknowledgement until I have nothing but back cover, and even then I'm probably going to read the back cover, just so the book doesn't end. I'll read the acknowledgements so that it does keep going. Question 8. Which book character would you switch places with? Probably Hermione Granger, because she's so clever and smart and brave and wonderful and just handy to have around and just a generally really cool person. And she's married to a Weasley, so at the end of the day you get to be a Weasley, and that's always a win. Question 9. Do you have a book that reminds you of a specific time in your life? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. When I read this book, my life was in turmoil. I felt like my world was crashing down. I had been uprooted and discombobulated and everything was falling apart and I felt like I had zero control over my life. Along came Douglas Adams, not only with a great story, but with this. Every time I grabbed this book to read it during this like terrible time in my life, I saw these words: don't panic, it's gonna be fine. You've got the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you're gonna be fine. Like, you've got this with you, everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna fall into place, your life will be okay. Right there, like in front of my face the whole time, and I loved that. But let's be honest, Douglas Adams can do no wrong. There is no wrong time to be reading his work. He is phenomenal. Question 10, name a book you acquired in an interesting way. Dolphins at Daybreak by Mary Pope Osborne. Yes, this book looks very sad. Story time. I saw this book laying in the middle of the road and I made my husband pull the car over and I was gonna jump out and get it, but instead he put his arm in front of me and he said no, and he ran out into the road, into traffic, and grabbed this book for me because I was crying, and he brought it back and he gave it to me and he said, I didn't want you to get hurt. And then I started crying because that's the most romantic thing anybody's ever done. If that's not true love, I don't know what is. Question 11, have you ever given a book away to a special person for a special reason? I've given away signed copies of my own book. Does that count? Question 12, which book has been with you to the most places? My Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. These books have been in every purse I've owned, every backpack I've had, every home I've lived in, every shelf I've ever had in a house. These books have moved with me all around Salt Lake City. They've moved with me to Florida and back. They've moved with me to Idaho and back. They've moved everywhere, like everywhere. These books are a constant on my shelf. I always need them within arm's reach. They're that important to me. Question 13. Any required reading in high school that wasn't so bad a few years later? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I kind of sort of liked everything I read in high school except Tom Sawyer, but that's a whole thing. I'm gonna go with Animal Farm by George Orwell. I did like this book in high school. I thought it was entertaining and it kept my attention and it was a good story and I really felt for the characters in here. But I didn't really understand the impact of this book and what it was really saying until I reread it years later. Like, I understood that it was talking about communism and things like that, but I really didn't understand the reflections of things that go on in this book, and I really didn't understand its importance until I read it again. And so I'm going with that. Question 14, used or brand new? I guess used. I mean, I don't really have a preference. It's not like if I have them both in front of me, I'm going to pick one over the other. I just tend to buy more used books because they're cheaper. And I kind of like the idea that maybe I'll find something like the Half-Blood Prince that has really cool magical annotations in it. You can't get that with a new book. Question 15. Have you ever read a Dan Brown novel? Only 5. Angels and Demons, The Da Vinci Code, The Lost Symbol, Digital Fortress, and Deception Point. I loved every single one of those except for The Lost Symbol. That one didn't quite have the same flair for me. It felt a little forced. I actually really love his writing. I think he's very gripping and he has this cliffhanger style that just, I cannot put his books down. Question 16, have you ever seen a movie that you liked more than the book? Really ashamed to admit this, but yes. Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Unfortunately, I saw the movie before the book. Robert De Niro just made the movie for me. That's all it really boils down to is Captain Shakespeare and Robert De Niro. I just feel like he was more fun in the movie and he was my favorite part of the movie. So for strictly entertainment value, I have to say I like the movie more, and it's like a knife in my heart and I hate it, and I feel like that is such a betrayal and so disloyal of me, but it's just sad but true facts. Question 17, have you ever read a book that made you hungry? Every single Harry Potter book. When they're feasting at Hogwarts or they're like eating candy from Hogsmeade and things like that, I want to be in the book so bad, and I want to be feasting with them, and I want to be eating all those delicious wizard foods with them, and I get really upset when that's not a real thing that I can do. I mean, let's face it, like, it just upsets me that not every aspect of Harry Potter is real life, but that... Question 18. Who is the person whose book advice you'll always take? Number 1, my very best friend Jessie, who lives in Florida. She has never steered me wrong. Number 2 is Richard from Richard's Book Nook. He is the middle grade guru and all-knowing sage of the middle grade area of books, and I can always trust his opinion. Number 3 would be my mom's best friend, BJ. She can recommend a book I've never heard about and I will absolutely love it, and it will be something outside of my comfort zone or a genre I don't usually read, and I'll usually really like it. She's just got a really cool opinion and she never steers me wrong. Question 19. Is there a book outside of your comfort zone that you ended up loving? Yes, there is. Smoke and Mirrors, the short story collection by Neil Gaiman. Until I read this book, I was not into short stories. I wrote novella-length stuff, and anything shorter than that was not enough for me. I needed a full, well-rounded story with a beginning, a middle, and an end that was totally and 100% complete, and I thought short stories just aren't able to offer that. Enter Neil Gaiman and his fantastical writing, where I learned that a 3-page story can just cover a wide, huge, encompassing array of stuff. This was one of his works that really made me fall in love with him as a writer, because it opened this doorway of short stories for me that I didn't think existed. I'm always gonna be grateful for that. Those are all the questions for the I Dare Ya book tag. I will be tagging my 4 people right now. There they are. I'll be sure to leave all the linky links for them down in the description below. This was a cool tag. Thanks again, Steph, for tagging me. You're wonderful. Consider subscribing to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's my face talking. Thanks for watching.